So are we supposed to start the podcast?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, brown triots.
Fuck off!
For the permanent record, those of you that are new, the fuck off is not to the aforementioned atriots.
Right.
It is to the people who don't support those people.
That's right.
Yeah, because sometimes we get new people and they're like, why did she say fuck off to those people? And it's just been an evolving thing that you have to have been here from the jump to understand. Like at one point, we called her Princess Diana and Meemaw meat curtains, and it's just a long sorted.
Now I'm a beaver.
It's just nonstop fuckery on America's top DEI podcast. Pumps, what have you had it with?
Okay, what I've had it with, and before you even say it, I'm going to say, yes, I have this, but this is a different context. Because Jennifer browbeats me about this all the time. So it's a spot it, got it situation. What I've had it with is I open up my phone and it's all these triple Trumpers that are now having buyer's remorse for obvious reasons. Small businesses are crapping out, bankruptcy, deportation, jobs numbers. I mean, he's underwater on fucking immigration, okay? The economy, shithole, recession coming. And they're like, he conned us. I just didn't know. I'm like, motherfucker, that's willful denial because all you had to do was give it a goog. Donald Trump, businessman, 6 times bankruptcy, casino bankruptcies, fraud verdicts out the gazoo. Like, there's no excuse not to know. So now to say we were conned, it's like, yeah, he's a great con artist for sure, but you played a part in it. Like all you had to do was give it a goog. That's what I've had it.
He really is not that great of a con artist. I think the more shocking, more telling part of this is that 77 million people fell prey to a mid-range to fair con artist. That's the problem for me, because for me, when I hear him talk, he's such a blowhard.
Right.
You immediately know when I know everything there is to know about grass. I know everything there is to know about Hannibal Lecter. Anybody who says they know everything all the time about every subject, you immediately know they know nothing.
Right.
It reminds me of the Cheesecake Factory menu.
Right.
When you have an Italian section, an Asian section, a Mexican section, a Japanese section, an American section, all in one restaurant, you know that none of it is going to be good because they're not experts in any of it.
Right.
And I don't even know that I've ever had their cheesecake, but I would think, just based on the aforementioned menu diversity, that the cheesecake would probably be lackluster too. So Donald Trump is like the WWE president, and he's the Cheesecake Factory president. No disrespect to cheesecake, unless you're triple Trumpers, then fuck you.
Then fuck you.
Oh, I did find out after my rant about Cracker Barrel, I did find out that they supported DEI and Pride Month, but then I also found out that there's like a big lawsuit against them, Black employees getting paid less. I haven't deep dived into all of it, but yeah. I just thought, Cracker Barrel, I know that a name that Black people call racist white people is cracker.
Right.
So when I was feeling that moment, I just thought there seems like there's nothing whiter than Cracker Barrel.
Right. That story you have to walk through before you get to the restaurant. It's like a Trump online flea market in real time.
Yeah.
Just a lot of knick-knack paddywhacks.
It really, really is. Okay, let me tell you what I've had it with. I've had it with the cost of healthcare in this country.
Absolutely.
And I never get sick. I never go to the doctor. But you all know that like a month ago, I had these kidney stones. And so I have to go to the hospital because I literally think I'm dying. I get so much pain. I'm like, this is not normal. More pain than childbirth. So I'm at the hospital for like probably 4 hours, and then I get sent home. Well, I have insurance, and I paid a $200 copay when I arrived at the hospital. Hadn't thought about the bill or anything like that. Before I came up here to sit down, I had the part that my insurance didn't pay, and it was a $1,200 hit out of pocket that I had to pay. Fortunately for me, I can pay that $1,200, but I know a lot of people that do not have $1,200 sitting around to pay for a health issue like this. And it is crazy that we live in the richest country in the history of the world, and people will go bankrupt paying their medical bills. And this is just a kidney stone issue. If you get to cancer and all
Right.
of that, it's debilitating. But then the option for these people that don't have the $1,200 sitting around is they don't pay it because they don't have it. Well, then it goes on their credit report and it's constantly just squishing them down. So this whole system is set up and endorsed by MAGA and some corporate Dems. A lot of the American culture is set up to attack poor people. And then when people are in poverty, and these people work 40 hours a week,
Right.
then they are browbeat by politicians by saying, if you want good insurance, then you need to get a better job or you need to work harder. All of these politicians, mind you, have Gold Star insurance through their job as being a member of Congress or the Senate. And it just, when it happens and you look at it, because I haven't really ever had health issues, and I saw that bill, I thought, my God, I know a lot of people personally that I know that would get that $1,200 hit and go, oh,
Right.
how am I going to pay this? How am I going to get this paid? By no fault of their own, they just got sick. I'm healthy. You know me, you have to force me to go to the doctor.
Right.
And that really is just tragic. And within that issue that affects every American, whether you're a triple Trumper, a total racist, non-racist, woke-ass liberal, everybody falls prey to our horrible for-profit medical care system in the United States. And you see that if people live in, suburbs or rural America or even inner cities, anywhere, and they're working 40 hours a week, and then they have a side hustle doing some extra stuff on the weekend, and then they get hit with this, you would get so disenchanted with both parties.
Right.
Because they're both beholden to corporate interests. And then you pile on to that you hear that this medical, insurance company had record earnings and their CEO got a $50 million bonus for 1 year.
Right.
And you're sitting there, and then the media, the legacy media, is calling you lazy and, not worthy of the decency and the respect of healthcare. And you see how all of this fascism comes into play, with or without Trump. A lot of our systems have really, really failed hardworking people.
What also comes to mind is when you see reports that these insurance companies create algorithms to deny claims.
Artificial intelligence.
I'm sorry, artificial intelligence. So they are looking for a way to deny your claims. And then this is what really chaps my ass. While everybody's debating Trump's horrific bill that is going to cut 17 million Americans from Medicaid, James Lankford, one of our senators,
Big Jesus guy.
I mean, he stands on that Bible and he is not for poor people. He said, well, these people, they should just get a job and they'll have health insurance. Okay, problem with that, James. Over 50% of the companies in this country do not provide health care insurance. So why don't you pass a law that if you have over X number of employees, and I don't mean 150, I mean if you have 4 employees or whatever, you have to cover them with health insurance. That would make a huge difference in people's lives, so they're not paying the premium. But instead, we're going to have them work 40 hours a week at Walmart, and then they need all these benefits because they make $7.50, $7.25 an hour minimum wage. So they have to have these benefits. They don't have health insurance, but they're the problem, and not the corporations and the businesses that are not providing access.
Well, it's corporate welfare. It is total. This country is set up where corporations will always get bailed out. Banks, airlines, the farmers, they're always getting bailed out. But when does the American worker ever get bailed out? In fact, what they do is then they start demonizing the American workers' efforts to unionize.
Right.
And then they start browbeating unions. And then in a weird twist, this last election, one of the main big union guys who got in a fight with Booster Box, Mark Wayne Mullins, our other dipshit, big Jesus guy senator.
Big Jesus guy.
They endorsed Trump. Well, now they fucked around. And now they're finding out that, the Republican Party has been on the record for wanting to dismantle and demean unions across the board. In our state, listener, this red state, they say that teachers' unions, and this is just a complete lie, but this is how deranged these Jesus freak, hypocritical MAGA Christians are, that teachers' unions have an agenda to radicalize a radical transgender litter box agenda onto the students of Oklahoma. Number one, that's just 1,000,000% not happening. But they beat up on teachers. They beat up on hardworking people that do like real physical manual labor that I guarantee you, James Langford, I guarantee you, if we had a push-up contest, I guarantee you I'd beat his ass.
I'd beat his ass.
Yeah. I mean, he is a pink arm pussy. However, they beat up on these hardworking people, but then they say both things. Like he'll get out and he'll speak about his faith and how the good people of Oklahoma, and we're Bible reading folk, and we're the heartland. And then he goes and he votes against veterans. He votes against unions, and all of these MAGA Christians and a lot of the corporate Democrats, they have enabled and participated in a system that has left the American worker behind, all to prop up a few people that are in the board of directors. And then they brag about record profits and they brag about the CEO bonuses, and then they demean the people who get left behind. And it's completely insane. Like when you think about how Elon Musk got all of his money, I mean, it started under a Democratic administration, Barack Hussein Obama. And he got all those tax credits, and his customer base were all liberals. Well, then he gets all strung out on ketamine, and apparently this is a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. He had a botched penis surgery. I read that on his own website, X. I don't know if it's true, but I read it on his
that
very
would
website.
Track with his behavior.
Yeah, and then he starts spiraling and he goes dark MAGA. But this guy would be nothing without the American taxpayer. And you get all of these people to go vote for the Elon Musks, the Donald Trumps, the Jeff Bezos of the world. And like, they don't want to take care of their workers. I would think like if you're a billionaire and you won at capitalism, you were able to skirt the system and right place, right time and all this shit, you'd be like, you know what? I want to do something really different. I want to be the billionaire that said, my CEO is going to be paid and paid the most, but it's not going to be such a disproportionate percentage of profits. I'm going to make sure the people that work here are paid really well. I'm going to make sure they have Gold Star insurance, because I just looked at Tesla stock. It's worth over $1 trillion. I think the same for Amazon. That's just fuck you money. But when they get fuck you money, they literally look at all of the workers and all of the American taxpayers that help them get there and say, fuck you.
Yeah.
And think about this, listener. Jeff Bezos should pay extra in taxes because his company uses more roads than you do. His company uses more airspace than you do. They use a lot more infrastructure, which means it tears it down. So there should be a special tax because he runs his business, because he doesn't have retail stores that he has to pay rent for. All of his stores are all these trucks that are out on the road all the time.
That you see constantly.
Yeah. And so it's just insane. But what do we know? We're just two old broads with our little podcast. Welcome to I've Had It. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Angie, HBIC, the aforementioned beaver, head beaver in charge.
Yeah, the head beaver in charge. Let's do a little check-in with Kiki, the magic lesbian.
Hi.
Hi.
I have 2 reviews for you today.
Okay.
The first one is Truth Shall Prevail from Mary Mack from New Haven, 5 stars. And she says, love this podcast. A ray of hope in a desolate landscape. I live in a blue state, so to hear such clarity from ground zero of maggot land is a rope I am clinging to in this wretched dystopia of the United States.
Of the divided states.
Yeah. Sorry, of the divided states.
Yeah, she said divided states, and that is true.
That
well,
is
thank
so
you
true.
so much, Mary Mack from New Haven. And I have to tell everybody, because we have a lot of people from blue states. We have international listeners, and we also have a lot of blue dots in red states. And Mary Mack, the blue dots in red states, we're pissed.
Yeah.
And we're a different breed of liberal. We're a different breed of progressive, and we're going to bring the fuck you brand to the midterms, and we're going to bring the fuck you brand to the 2028. I say, Gavin Newsom, I don't care what they do, gerrymander anyway. Same for you, Pritzker. Same for you, Kathy Hochul. Any blue state, let's gerrymander. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Because the reality is the Republicans have far, far, far less population.
Yes.
I mean, it's not even close.
Not even comparable. All right.
Okay, this one is 5 stars, titled Love It from Burn a Tree. And she writes, as a married, Black, lesbian, female entrepreneur, I absolutely love you girls. I'm currently sitting in a Mexican restaurant, and boy, do I have some pictures to share of the light people in here.
I'm telling you what, I'm going to tell you what, guys. The reason that clip of me calling them out went so viral, like Greg Gutfield's like, who is this lady anyway? I've never heard of her. And I'm like, Greg, exactly. Why are you talking about me then? Y'all are talking about me because it hurt you.
Right,
and in the same sentence, they said, this reminds me of Hillary Clinton calling us deplorables. They're still 10 years later butthurt over that. You know why? Because it resonated, because they recognized it was true.
Right.
Donald Trump, every single day for 10 years, wakes up, Happy Easter to everybody except for the pathetic, low-life, scumbag, leftist losers. Right. And you don't hear liberals going, oh my God, Donald Trump called me a scum loser. Especially 10 years later. But the reason you guys got so butthurt about that from a no-name, we don't even know who she is. She doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. She gets too much Botox. Blah, blah, guilty on all charges. Totally am. You should see what I look like without the Botox. You'd really be scared then. But the reason it hurt you and the reason Fox News did wall-to-wall coverage is because you know it's true.
Right.
You know when you hang out with all white people. You know the racism that's stripped in. And you probably leave those places and you don't feel too good about it. And then you do go to a Mexican restaurant or you do go to a business that's run and or operated by immigrants. And there is a sense of humanity and kindness and common thread there. And then you're like, this is pretty cool about America. And you know it. And that's why they did wall-to-wall coverage.
Yeah.
And I stand by it. Triple Trumpers. If you went 1, 2, 3, if you voted for him 3 times, if you tripled down on this guy and you want an ethno state, then live in it. Start living in it right now. The rest of us want to watch sports. We support African-American athletes. We support our businesses from people who are first-generation Americans. I support anybody who wants to come over to this country with a dream, just like anybody, like our ancestors did, and I'm not going to be a dick to them. So you just swing for the fences, Fox News, because I ain't scared.
Yeah, I memean, all day on that day, I can't remember the day it was. I mean, you led every single news program.
And they
at
say,
Fox News.
And they kept, who is this lady?
Who is it? And I'm like, Greg, if you watched Fox News the whole day, you would intimately be familiar with her by now because it has been the nonstop story. In the meantime, the news breaks that Ghislaine Maxwell has been transferred and has work release. But of course, we're not talking about that on Fox.
No.
No. We're talking about Biden. We're talking about you. What else are we talking about? Hunter's laptop. Hunter being back in the news gives them huge segments. Jesse Waters is convincing us what's masculine. Wink, wink.
All right. Now on to the news. Huffington Post has an article coming out. And it says, my husband said God wanted him to spank me. Our church told me I couldn't say no. If this sounds familiar to you, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is part of the same denomination. So this is that church that Pete Hegseth, CNN did a report on it, where they talked about women need to submit to the husband. They want to do away with the 19th Amendment and that women were just to be vessels for breeding, okay? And Pete Hegseth, when they posted the video of this article, he retweeted it and put all Christ all the time. And this is the work that Angie and I want to do with this podcast, you guys, aside from just browbeating idiocy. We're in the middle of fighting fascism. Once we win that, then we'll go back to browbeating idiocy. But right now, the work that we want to do is to say to women and men that look and sound like us that triple trumped, do you want your daughter in a marriage where her husband can violently abuse her Do you want that for her? Because I think your answer is probably no. In the same way, if I were to ask you the question, if your daughter is raped, do you want her to carry her rapist baby? And I think your answer is probably no. Well, they've already proven to us they're taking away her options with number 2. But if your answer is no to question number 1, then I have to remind you that this administration, their answer to number 1 is yes. Mm-hmm. They do not want women to be able to get divorces. All of the stuff, if you're old enough to remember when George W. Bush spoke about Sharia law and Islamic countries that have Sharia law hate us for our freedom. Basically, what the MAGA movement wants now for your daughters, for your sisters, for your mothers, for marginalized groups is for them to be kept, contained, controlled, and abused. So you're voting for this. And I know, and Pumps knows too, a lot of women that have always been Republicans, that have always voted Republican, and they were pro-choice. Either they had an abortion themselves before they ever got married and their husband doesn't know about it. Maybe their daughter has had an abortion and the husband doesn't know about it, but they're inherently pro-choice. But because of their religious indoctrination, they always vote Republican. They never thought the Republican vote would lead to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And because of that overturning, women are dying, women are suffering, and women are forced to carry their rapist baby. And if you're a rich woman or man and your child gets impregnated, you can get on an airplane and you can go to a blue state where they treat people with decency, integrity, give them agency, and give them autonomy. You can travel there if you have the money and your child can receive that care. But in red states like ours, all of these MAGA policies are attacks on poor people. Mm-hmm. And what I ask you is when you put your head on the pillow at night, and I don't care if you're religious or not, but I'm not. And I have this kind of moral clarity about this. Shouldn't we fight for the rights of the weakest among us? Isn't that the bravest thing to do? Isn't that the most earnest, morally correct thing to do? To fight for those that are the weakest among us to be able to rise up from suffering?
Yeah, I would think. And it's been a long time since I've been knee deep in the Bible, but I think that was one of the main tenets of Jesus Christ. And that we're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah. So this is, you guys, this is crazy. I mean, this woman, her husband said that God told her that God wants me to spank you. And then, of course, that led to just horrific abuse. Doug Wilson, who is the pastor of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. This is his church. He's the one who's all about this, and he's the one who is trying to promote the Christian golden age under Donald Trump. And I have a big news flash for all of the women that vote because their husband says, hey, if you want that extra purse and you want that extra vacation, you better go vote Trump. Otherwise, we have to pay a lot of taxes and you're not going to get stuff. And that conversation happens all over America. You're voting against your own rights and you're voting for a future where your daughter will be openly and legally abused and basically a hostage in her own home.
Right. And it's already happening now. You see it everywhere. All these people that are like rah, trad wives and all that. I'm like, you don't understand how bad it was for women before they could get a divorce, before they could have their own money. You just don't understand. Before no-fault divorce. They're trying to take away no-fault divorce.
All right, next up. For the first time in history, repeated studies are suggesting that now the most misogynistic, outdated, regressive attitudes towards women and girls are the most common among the youngest. Based on her research, she says a teenage boy will have extreme misogynistic content served directly into his feed less than half an hour after setting up an account on social media. The reason for this is because of a really algorithmically facilitated form of mass radicalization that is happening to young men and boys.
That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying because there's no way you can keep your kids from having the internet. You know what I mean? They're acting like there is, but there really isn't. And that, look at who's making the algorithms, of course. I mean, I think of like neutered Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Like these people are not have any intention of making sure there's integrity and those kind of things are kept from the internet.
And so in talking about what we can do, because once Trump is done, we still have major problems in this country. And as mothers, one of the biggest things I've done with my kids over the last 5 to 6 years, and I have one that's 19 and one that's 22, is ask them who they follow online. And I check and see who they are following online. And that is something that you need to check. You need to check your friends. You need to check your kids, especially like who are they following? And my oldest son followed Hassan Piker and watched his Twitch streams. And he is a progressive, a real alpha male that stands up for women, that he himself is for the advancement of women and for the equality of women and for the equality of Black and brown people and the LGBTQ plus community. And he has stood on that. And another one that my youngest son just turned me on to is a 20-year-old content creator that my youngest son watches a lot. And this guy's name is Dean Withers. And Kylie has a clip of the work that he does. He goes live on TikTok, I believe, and he streams and he debates with MAGA people. And here is an example of the work that this guy, this 20-year-old kid, is doing right now. And I'm so proud of my son that this is who he has found to follow. All right, play the clip.
Why did you vote for Trump?
Well, I voted for Trump because I didn't really like the whole Biden administration because it presented weakness.
Okay, so what specifically about the Biden-Harris administration presented weakness?
Well, just that, they wanted to help everybody they could.
So you think, okay, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Did Jesus want to help everybody that he could?
Well, I don't really know if Jesus was actually alive. Can't prove that.
You just said that you were a Christian.
Well, yeah, that's what I align with.
So if you're a Christian, that means that you believe Jesus was alive.
Well, I believe in what I know for a fact.
So then you want to be a Christian.
Then I guess I wouldn't be a Christian.
I'm so sorry. You're just racking my brain. This is hell for me.
So he does these, hours long where they come on and he, I don't think he's necessarily trying to change their opinion as much as he is highlight the moral duplicity and the cognitive dissonance, because maybe if you see it in another person, you're like, well, boy, that sounds crazy. This guy kind of owned them. It would start unlocking parts of your own moral duplicity and your own moral rot and maybe bring you back to a more, at the impetus of maybe some enlightenment towards being a better person, a more empathetic person, a more kind person. So at my son's request, we were able to get a hold of this Dean Withers. And that's one of the coolest things about the podcast is my son doesn't watch the podcast, but now he will be able to watch this one because he's a huge Dean Withers fan. And so I would like to welcome Dean Withers. He is a political content creator, 20 years old, to I've Had It. Pumps and I need to share with everybody that we have written a book. It's called Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. And believe it or not, Pumps and I have not always been so rock solid. And we talk about all of our trials, tribulations, most of all our fuck ups. Yes, because fuck ups are relatable and a part of the human experience.
I have gotten so much feedback regarding the book that because of my situation with the religion and addiction and all that people relate to that. So I do think there's something to take away that's comforting about it because we've all been in very difficult situations.
And listener, what we want you to do, this is the it book for summer reading. So please get your copy of Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches and take a picture of yourself with the book in really great places and tag at I've Had It podcast, and we will share your images with our summer it book. You can buy it in bookstores. You can buy it in the link in our bio. You can buy it at Target, Walmart, Amazon, etc. All the retailers. Happy reading and happy summer. Pumps, let's just go ahead and have a little chat about a subject the whole world wants us to ignore, and I'm talking about our hormones. Listener, hormone health is so important because it controls so many things in our day-to-day life. Our energy levels, mood, metabolism, sleep, and even skin health.
Your body is constantly changing. Hormones shift, energy fluctuates, and stress takes a toll. If you're feeling sluggish, stressed out, or just off, it might be time to start looking at your hormone health.
And that's why, listener, I recently started using Glow by Beam. It's a once daily hormone balancing blend for women that has made a huge improvement in my life, and you need to try it too. It contains 18 comprehensive active ingredients, vitamins, minerals, and natural antioxidants, and added electrolytes for a hydration boost. Over 40,000 women have trusted Glow by Beam to support their hormone health, and now it's your turn. Glow is here to help bring you back to balance, because balance isn't a luxury, it's essential. For a limited time, Beam is offering our listeners up to 35% off Glow. Just visit shopbeam.com/hadit and use code HADIT at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/hadit. And don't forget to use the code HADIT for your exclusive discount. Today's episode of I've Had It is brought to you by Honeylove. You know, listener, when I think about summer, I think about breezy dresses, bold colors, and effortlessly cool looks. And then I oftentimes think about bras, and I'm like, there's nothing effortless about that. And that's why I'm so happy I have discovered Honeylove shapewear. They have the targeted compression, and their bras are just so incredibly comfortable.
What I love about my Honeylove Super Power Short is that it holds my stomach in. That's my problem area. And they have what's called Mesh Sculpt. It's the ultimate summer shapewear, and it's not super hot.
And Honeylove isn't just about shapewear. They also have unbelievably comfortable bras. Honeylove's best-selling crossover bra, which is my favorite, by the way, listener, gives all the support of traditional bras without using any underwires. I even forget that I have it on. Listener, treat yourself to the most comfortable shapewear on earth and save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/hadit. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/hadit. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Experience the new standard in shapewear with Honeylove. I'm so done with people acting like low sex drive is just a part of aging. Like, oh, you're in your 40s. What did you expect? I expected to still want sex. Thanks.
Exactly. And that's why there's Addyi. It's the first FDA approved little pink pill for certain premenopausal women who are bothered by a low sex drive.
Addyi helps bring back your libido. It helps you feel like yourself again.
Yes, it's real, it's researched, and it's not just part of getting older. It's something you can treat. Go to Addyi.com to learn more. ADDYI.com.
Addyi, or flibanserin, is for premenopausal women with acquired generalized hypoactive sexual desire disorder, HSDD, who have not had problems with low sexual desire in the past, who have had low sexual desire no matter the type of sexual activity, the situation, or the sexual partner. This low sexual desire is troubling to them and is not due to a medical or mental health problem, problems in the relationship, or medicine or other drug use. Addyi is not for use in children, men, or to enhance sexual performance. Your risk of severe low blood pressure and fainting is increased if you drink 1 to 2 standard alcoholic drinks close in time to your Addyi dose. Wait at least 2 hours after drinking before taking Addyi at bedtime. This risk increases if you take certain prescriptions, OTC or herbal medications, or have liver problems, and can happen when you take Addyi without alcohol or other medicines. Do not take if you are allergic to any of Addyi's ingredients. Allergic reaction may include hives, itching, or trouble breathing. Sometimes serious sleepiness can occur. Common side effects include dizziness, nausea, tiredness, difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, and dry mouth. See full PI and medication guide, including boxed warning, at addyi.com/PI. Addyi.
ADDYI.com.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
You know, it was my son, my youngest son, who told me about you. And so he sent me some videos and I started watching it. And I thought, you know, I love this guy. And we have to build such a huge coalition, like a big tent coalition against fascism. And so I'm so excited that you could join us today. And most importantly, as a mother to a child your age, I'm forever grateful that you exist and that you are getting such huge numbers. I'm forever grateful that I raised my son well enough that he found you and he watches you instead of Andrew Tate or what's his name? Charlie Kirk. How are you today, Dean?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice morning out here in Colorado. And about your son. So every day I run a podcast where people can tune in and talk to me. And I typically talk to Trump supporters. But one day about a month ago, he actually came up and he said that he was excited to see me on his mom's podcast in around a month. So I actually got a small chance to meet and talk to your son. And that is really cool that he's been able to manage to go down the right path instead of the wrong path. And, that's what I focus on, is trying to provide some type of political outlet for younger Americans online that doesn't make you raging misogynist, racist, or condone fascist or fascism.
I know. And why do you think that there is this problem, and it's really heightened at people your age, that they are so radicalized so quickly to have such misogynistic views that you would think that like people my parents' age or my grandparents would have, but we're seeing the most extreme radicalization at your age. What's your take on that, Dean?
Well, I think that there's a lot of reasons why we see younger Americans, a lot of younger men as well, shifting farther to the right. I'd say that one reason we see this is because right now the right kind of dominates the culture in younger men. Maybe a lot of younger men like cars. Well, for whatever reason, liking cars is right coded. Same thing with going to the gym. For whatever reason, gym influencers online are right coded. And one thing that they have been good at is really ingraining themselves into that culture. And the left hasn't been as good at that in, the last 4 or so years. So maybe that's what has kind of opened up the gateway. But I mean, even building off of that, I would say one thing that people like Andrew Tate capitalize on is the idea that, well, a lot of the people on the left are evaluating systemic issues that impact this country and the people within it. And a lot of people on the left like to focus on marginalized communities because if we want equality, we need to focus on those that are disadvantaged and, get everybody to an even playing field. But then people like Andrew Tate have the takeaway, well, this just means that they're not focusing as much on young white men. So then he sees that as a market opening and he hops in there and he says, hey, for all these young men that feel forgotten by the left, I'm going to make you feel so self-important. In fact, I'm going to tell you that you're more important than everybody around you. And that's what has opened up the door in my mind to heightened levels of misogyny within young men in this country, at least one of the reasons.
All right, Dean, we like to ask all of our guests what they've had it with. So now it's your turn. Dean Withers, what have you had it with?
Well, I think I sent you over a handful of things before we hopped on here, but there was one big one that I wasn't able to send over to you that I've really had it with. Is it okay if I bring that up?
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Okay. I've really had it with coffee from coffee shops. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've had it. I've had it with coffee shops. Let me tell you, in the last 6 or 7 months, I have gotten really into making coffee at home. And, I've made the investment. I've bought my own espresso machine. I've focused on where you get the best beans from in the process to get the best cup of coffee. And what I've realized is it is so easy to make a cup of coffee, a nice latte or a pull a shot of espresso that is better than anything that you will get from 9 out of 10 coffee shops in your hometown. Just by taking a little bit more time, you get a better cup of joe. But whenever I go to these coffee shops that will charge me $7, $8 for the same thing, it's rushed through and at the expense of like so much quality. It tastes worse. And I've had it, that's one thing I've had it with. So
you're a coffee supremacist.
I guess some may say, I don't frown upon, the coffee of others, but I do frown upon, charging $7 to make a suboptimal cup of coffee with a really good espresso machine. Because that's another thing. A lot of these coffee shops have great equipment, but they just don't use it in a way that produces the highest quality cup of coffee.
I'll tell you what else about the whole coffee shop thing. First of all, I'm not spending $8 on coffee, full stop. But putting it on the internet, if everybody's drinking coffee and everybody's buying coffee at stores, it's not newsworthy. It's not putting it on your social. That just drives me crazy. Dean, do you put your coffee on your social media feed?
I don't. Okay. I don't put it on my social media feed, but I've been considering it. It's been a thought in the back of my head.
It's incubating. Like you're making such supreme coffee. You're like, I might have to share how fantastic this is. But I can agree with you on this because coffee is, I really love coffee. I don't drink. And so like a really good pharmaceutical strength hit of coffee, like even thinking about it right now, I'm like Pavlov's dogs, like my mouth can start salivating thinking about a really strong espresso. Okay, let's move on to one of your other grievances, which happens to be my number one grievance. And these are mega churches.
Oh yeah, so the mega church pastors. Now I've done a little bit of research. I haven't done enough to be able to sit here and philosophize about the intricacies of why these people suck. But from what I do know, mega church pastors just on the surface level irk me. I'll be looking at people like Kenneth Copeland, I think his name is, who is worth, he might be a billionaire. I'm probably wrong. If it's not a billionaire, he's worth, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, who will go out and make statements about how he's spending millions of dollars on a new private jet, pulling from the donations to the church because he doesn't want to be in a tube in the sky with demons, referring to everybody else than Economy Plus. And then he turns around and he'll go on stage, either online or at his mega church, and say how much, Jesus loves everybody and how he's a good person with good intentions and good goals to, convert the world into one in which is moral and going to heaven, but then acts completely different in private. And I mean, it kind of shows me that it's about the money. It's about fostering people into a group of followers that is so devout and so loyal because they think that it's well-intentioned and in service of their God. But in all reality, it's just a dark twist on pulling at people's desires to be part of a group to exploit them financially.
And it's a religious industrial complex that operates in this country without taxes and is responsible for all the indoctrination that MAGA talks about that they think is going on in public schools. It is all happening in mega churches, and they are trained and indoctrinated to not critically think. And the money that goes into this, like we have a mega church in Oklahoma, and now they have them all over the United States. It's called Life Church. And I looked on their website, and they have, I think, 600 million just sitting, just sitting in the bank. The pastor has a couple of private planes. He's a big MAGA guy. He's now going on tour with like Kellyanne McEnany and all of this stuff. And to me, it is the biggest grift, and it is so insidious to go into these communities in suburban America, rural America, and provide them with what they think is culture. And they have rock bands and the light shows. And then they're just indoctrinating them against critical thinking. And that's such a mind fuck when you tell a kid, when they think, wait a minute, did somebody really live to be 900 years old? Or did Noah get all those animals? No, you can't think that. You can't question that. That's the devil at work. To me, that is just it's abuse. I think it's child abuse. And I think we live in Oklahoma City, Dean. So Pumps was raised in this culture. I think it is the worst cancer in America. And I think it led a lot of these voters straight into MAGA. Blind obedience. Let's face it, he's just like an evangelical preacher. He grifts. He has the hair. Bullshit artist. I mean, Trump is familiar to them because he's just like a evangelical megachurch pastor.
Right. I think that this is a perfect opportunity to wrap in Trump. But, first, I agree with everything you just said. I myself grew up going to a private Catholic school. And, I vividly remember being 12 or 13 and starting to have questions about, what was being forced on me by my family, friends, and school. And the answer was always, well, you can't ask that. And the moment you start asking these questions, you're looking for evidence instead of following with faith. And that's a mark of the devil, as you pointed out. And more so wrapping Trump into this, it is an industrial complex of hinging on people's anti-intellectualism, forcing them to follow a narrative and, think with the hive instead of galvanizing, the importance of critical thought inside of us. He will just turn around and lie. He will contort any narrative to his advantage, no matter who suffers because of that. And I feel like that is one thing that he has done better than any other politician, that's served our country in my lifetime. And he's done it, without a care in the world. And I mean, this is now why we have people believing that the GOP and MAGA as a whole are maybe truly tough on crime, even though like somehow they're also supporting a 34 count felon that is pardoned violent offenders. It's just because you'll tell them they hate crime, or truly good for the economy. We're entering into the golden age of American prosperity, even though we're adding $4 trillion to our national debt and kicking 10 million people off of healthcare. They don't want to talk about that. And it all goes back to, the new dawn of anti-intellectualism, the acceptance of cult-like behaviors, and the depiction of Trump very similarly to that of a god or a megachurch pastor.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. And we were talking about before you came on, your background, you were raised by conservative parents, Catholic school. I wasn't able to pull my head out of my ass until way later in life.
A few years ago.
Maybe a decade, probably started or whatever. But so you're 20. How does this work? Because I was outside the scope of my parents. I was no longer in that going every day doing what they were saying. You're living, I presume you were living in your parents' home through like high school. So how did that happen for you?
Well, that's a good question. I feel like I had a lot of bad influences, that we've already kind of talked about and that you just repeated, but I also had some good influences. I had a friend throughout high school that was, another guy kind of like me, but he held the polar opposite political beliefs. And he's also a really intelligent guy and really good at debating. He got me into debating too. So that's why I do what I do now. But, I would talk to him and I would actually debate with him for so long. And we did this for months and for years, intermittently, kind of just for fun to explore truth. And the more I talked to him, the more he was right and I was wrong. And then, we had January 6th come around. And that was kind of like the big moment for me where I was like, dude, we have a president that is sending fake slates of electorates into 7 of our key swing states that he lost in the election to try to rig the outcome of the vote. Like, there's no way that anybody can support this. So that's when I redacted my support from Trump, but still kind of held on to those right-leaning social takes. But as time progressed, that trend continued. But then the big moment was going to college out in CU Boulder. I got really interested in philosophy. So I took an intro to philosophy course by this professor of the name of Michael Huemer. Now, Michael Huemer is libertarian, right-wing, but inside of his classes, I learned the foundation of thinking critically, attempting to reason with the use of a quote-unquote scientific method, and exploring truth in a brand new way. And it is those virtues that I then took to, like the online coliseum of political debate and started exploring this with others and, eventually reasoned myself to all the conclusions that I hold now.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I was doing work with my therapist on religion, he was like, just go pick up some Freud, go pick up, different things. And when you really start reading it, I mean, obviously when you have things like you're not supposed to critically think, I can't critically think. And then you start pulling yourself away from that. But when you start reading and researching and learning about religion, it kind of made me kind of like embarrassed, maybe not to other people. Gullible? I felt gullible. That's what it was. I mean, I was just like, you're not a dumb shit. I mean, you might be a dumb shit, but not total dumb shit.
But you were indoctrinated.
No, yeah. I know. But there was a part of me that felt very, very gullible, more than betrayed. Just felt, because I think the people that were bringing me to it were earnest in their beliefs, but nobody ever critically thought. And I missed that boat for like 30 years.
Well, I think what you're describing is the inclination of humanity to want things to be true that will benefit them personally. And I mean, I think that's one big reason why so many people have been quote unquote gullible to so many faiths is because, a faith gives you the representation of an idea that you don't actually die. You live forever. In fact, you're going to live in the best possible plane of existence created by a God that's all perfect, all knowing, and all loving. And, when we kind of compartmentalize that fact alongside other facts, such as the idea that when you're a Christian inside of a Christian community, your life is going to be significantly easier than if you were an atheist, we see a perfect framing for why so many people might be quote unquote gullible. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, religion truly does benefit a lot of people. There's a lot of people that do it right. There's a lot of people that are able to guide their lives with their faith as a weapon of love a symbol of love instead of a weapon of hate. But I just think the moment that they cross that line and go into that territory of saying that, we now need to ban women and girls' access to healthcare because apparently the Bible says so, or guess what? Now we're going to challenge the Supreme Court to overturn gay marriage because I think the Bible says so, is when we get into a very dangerous territory where we really need to start promoting critical thought, where we really need to start hammering home about a separation between the church and the state. And we probably need to retrospect and reflect on what led people into these positions of such faith and grandeur in the first place, kind of like we're doing right now.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that particularly irritates me living in the Bible Belt about Christianity, and Catholics are not like this because you have to go to school and pass a test to be a Catholic. You have to get confirmed and all of that. But evangelicals, the recruiting, oh my God, let me just tell you what I went through growing up. So my parents, atheists, all of my peers, Bible thumpers, tongue talkers, constantly told me I was going to go to hell, but I was never indoctrinated. And so whenever they would tell me about spiritual warfare and all this stuff, I wanted to be a part of their group because I was young. I was an impressionable teenager. So I'd go to their churches with them. And then I would leave and I'd go back home and I would tattle on myself to my mom. Like, hey, I went to church. These people are really screwed up. She's like, I told you. And then this lie that's told to a lot of Christian, particularly women in the South by evangelical Christians. And the lie is that if you pray and you're a good girl and you submit to your husband, everything's going to be fine. And that's why I think you have Pete Hegseth's pastor who recently did the alarming story on CNN that Pete Hegseth retweeted all of Christ all the time. They're coming after women like us. And so when I think about these MAGA men, we're talking about the manosphere and sexism. When I think about their growing list of people that they're scared of, it's really ridiculous. Like drag queens, Trigger City. Trans kids wound up like cheap clocks, believe the lie that kids are going to school and getting their wieners whacked off. They believe that. They believe that kids are going to school taking shits in litter boxes. They're triggered by cat litter. They are triggered by flags, rainbow flags. They're triggered by Hispanic people, Asian people, Black people, any form of an immigrant. They're triggered by people that speak English as a second language. And now they've added to their list the liberal white woman. The liberal white woman, these alpha men are terrified of liberal white women. And I just think it's such a layup for Democrats and progressives because this is such beta. And I'm not really into quantifying masculinity, but they are.
That's what I was going to say. I've never even thought about it. I've just thought he's a pussy, little dick energy. But now I'm fixated on somebody that lifts up women, lifts up other people. And I think, okay, that's an alpha male. The people that are browbeating women and trans kids, those are fucking pussies.
I agree.
And they're just crying around. We can't be first at everything anymore. Shut the fuck up with your teeny weenie. Sorry. I feel like, I don't know, that just felt weird because you're so young and I'm old. I don't know. That just felt weird in front of you, and I say it every day on the podcast. But Dean, I don't know. I feel very weird right now.
No, it's okay.
We get really worked up over this because we feel like to be the opposition to this. Your generation, I appreciate so much because you don't want to harm anyone. And you want to be inclusive of everyone. And I feel that too. But when it comes to the oppressors and when it comes to the bigots, I want to be able to say to them, fuck you. I think you're a piece of shit. I think you exude little dick energy. But the difference between you and me is I'm going to vote for you to not go bankrupt when you have that heart attack. That inevitable heart attack from all the fried food you're eating, you fat ass. That's what a Gen Xer, that's how I want the Democrats to fight them. You want me to suffer just because I'm a liberal white woman. And recently I went viral on something and I received multiple DMs, emails, phone calls, wishing sexual violence on me. And that's the difference. I don't want these people to suffer, but I sure as fuck want to tell them what pieces of shit I think they are.
Well, I mean, I think if you ever tune into my podcast, you'll see something pretty similar. Listen, outside of talking about politics, one big thing that I discuss in my live streams is misogyny, is the patriarchy. And this typically would find its way into my live streams by talking to men on the right that think men are better at leading than women.
Yeah.
And I have had so many of these conversations. And for those, some of the times it reduces down to the idea that men are superior to women. And there's something very interesting that you guys just brought up of the idea of, the men that are out here thinking that men are superior to women. We live in a male-centered world and it should be that way. Men are better. No, that is like absolutely fucking beta. I mean, think about it. These people have such little self-respect, little self-dignity, a little self-worth that instead of, I don't know, going to therapy and working on it, they instead project their own issues onto those around them. And they'll say, if I decide that all of the women around me are less valuable than I am, then I will be more valuable than 50% of people alive, respectively. And I just think it's a cope. It's just a big cope. It's a way to feel more important. And of course, none of them are emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. None of them have a good head on their shoulders. So they're going to do it in the most harmful way possible. And I mean, it's that system and many others that have upheld, these virtues for so long and ensured that women didn't have the right to vote until the 1920s. Women didn't have the right to get a credit card without their husband's consent until the 1970s. And women didn't have the right to report rape inside of a marriage federally until the 1980s. So get pissed. I mean, it's important to get pissed.
Yeah.
Shame them. One thing that I can guarantee will absolutely be a tool of making our society better is public ostracization and shame. There's so many people out there that the critical thinking we've been talking about simply won't work on, but social pressure always will. So if we socially pressure these idiots, these brainless fuckheads who want to come out here and tell us how invaluable women are and how everybody sucks except for rich white men, if we shame them, then I think we'll eventually see generational change and move away from those ideals.
So many people delay seeking health care, not because they don't want help, because they're overwhelmed by the system. There's the fine print. Endless calls, confusion about what's covered. Then we have Roe. Roe simplifies and streamlines all of this. Share with our listener about your journey with Roe.
What's so nice about Roe is people all the time ask me, how did you lose weight? I'm like, GLP-1s. Well, how did you know it was covered by your insurance? Because Roe has an insurance checker that you can utilize for free.
No paperwork, no hassle, no waiting on hold. Roe's free insurance checker will send you a comprehensive report of your coverage details so you can make a decision that's right for your goals. When you become a Roe member, you'll have support throughout the process. You'll have access to your provider on demand for any questions. Listener, join the over 500,000 people who've trusted Roe to check their coverage for free. Go to roe.co/hadit for your free insurance check. That's ro.co/hadit to see if your insurance covers GLP-1s for free. Go to roe.co/safety for black box warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medications. Listener, Pumps and I are old enough to remember that we used to have to write down IOUs. So we'd go to lunch, maybe I forgot my wallet, and I'd literally write down on a napkin at the restaurant, IOU. And then all of a sudden, Cash App appeared, and it is the greatest thing on the planet. No more IOUs, real-time reimbursement, and it's a complete streamline to making sure you keep your finances in order.
It's so great because I can give my kids money and I don't have to write a check. It takes like 2 seconds and I'm completely caught up with what I owe them.
Listener, for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real. Just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code, FAMILY10 in your profile, and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. And you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners, prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, direct deposit, roundups, overdraft coverage, and discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit Cash App/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
As my children are growing older, they're becoming more susceptible to fragrance in the products they use on their skin. And that is why I have been now diving in to what are the chemicals in the products that I use. And I am finding that so many chemicals are in there that are unnecessary. I was shocked that my laundry detergent is one of the worst culprits. So I switched to Earth Breeze. Their detergent sheets are free from harsh chemicals like dyes, parabens, phosphates, and preservatives. And they're way easier to use. No heavy plastic jugs, no mess, just a pre-measured sheet that dissolves in seconds. I feel so much better knowing I'm not exposing myself and my kids to those unnecessary toxins. And my laundry still comes out fresh and clean. If you want a gentler clean without harsh chemicals, switch to Earth Breeze. They're also backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. So basically, you are trying it risk-free. Right now, you can get 40% off with your subscription at earthbreeze.com/hadit. That's earthbreeze.com/hadit.
Okay, so Dean, you spend a lot of time talking to MAGA people. And tell me, number one, the first part of my question, what is the common thread that you see, over 90% of maybe your callers or the people that you talk to that they have in common? And number two, do you think it is a cult?
So point number one, what's something that everybody has in common? Either being willfully ignorant, or evil. That's the way I look at it. Willfully ignorant, misinformed, or evil.
Okay.
Those are the three traits that pretty much everybody I talk to has in common.
Okay.
To start off with number one, willfully ignorant. Somebody can support Trump if they just simply don't know what he's doing and don't really care. Point number two, misinformed. Somebody could support Trump if they think that his policy is generating good outcomes because they're misinformed about the nuances of said policy, etc. Or third, somebody will support Trump because they're willfully evil and they want a fascist to take over. That's something they all have in common.
Shit.
And then in response to your second question, asking if MAGA is a cult, I think that there's a lot of people that support Trump that genuinely are good people that are just misinformed. I talk to a handful of people like that on my stream. We'll have people come up, they'll say, I support Trump. Then I'll start informing them on why they're wrong. And they'll be like, dang, dude, I've never thought about it this way. You're right. I no longer support him. So I see that side. But there's even more people that truly are members of the cult, don't care and won't ever care. And I see that on my live even more. Something that I will frequently do is I will ask these Trump supporters if they hold any red lines against Donald Trump. Hypothetically, if Donald Trump did X, they would stop supporting him. And if it's not murder, Donald Trump's either done it or something close to it, and I could always turn it around back on them, and then they'll still support him. A good example of this was yesterday. I was sitting on my live stream. I was talking to a Trump supporter, and I asked them, because they had brought up the fact that they care about child safety, I asked them, would you still support Trump if he had openly boasted about perving on naked adult women and naked teenage girls in their changing rooms without their consent and then oogled at their naked bodies? And they said, no, I would stop supporting Trump right now if he did that. That's perverted. I couldn't. Well, then I'll play them the clip from Howard Stern's podcast in 2005, where Donald Trump did exactly that. I mean, it's crazy. If you haven't heard this, please go on YouTube and find it.
No, we've seen it.
Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. And then I'll play them the clip, and then I'll be like, okay, you're at a fork in the road. Right before I played you this clip, you told me that you would stop supporting Trump if this is something he had done. And then I'll usually even get a little bit more into it and play their answer back because I have the ability to do that. And I'll say you're at a fork in the road. You could either be a man of your word and stop supporting him, or prove to everybody watching that MAGA is a cult. And like 4 out of 5 people that I do this to will take that route of MAGA is a cult. They won't even care what they said before I played the clip. They learn that this hypothetical red line is something Trump has actually done, and then they go right into that mental gymnastic mode of trying to find a way to defend it.
All right, Dean, let me ask you this. Do you think the thesis sentence or the ethos of that cult, the number one prevailing value that they have over all others is owning the libs and never agreeing with the libs? From your experience talking to them.
This one of the most common themes. It's one of the most common themes, absolutely.
What about racism? I feel like that binds them pretty tight too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I talked to a bunch of very racist Trump supporters. There's a lot of them that will just intentionally mispronounce Kamala Harris's name to be an asshole. And then there's also a lot of Trump supporters that will come up onto my live stream and talk about immigrants with me and mass deportation, and it always reduces down to something racist. I mean, so immigration is, like the main topic I like to focus on, I like to study, I like to read about. And the facts just don't matter to these people. At the end of the day, they will accept if mass deportation fucking destroyed this country and, sent our economy into the blender and made everybody live in poverty with crime out the ass. As long as the undocumented immigrants were out, they're happy. And, there's no way that doesn't reduce back to racism. And, right. Even sometimes they'll be like, okay, I'm pretty sure what you're telling me reduces down to racism. Feel free to prove me wrong by giving me a good reason to actually support the claim. And they don't. Wow. They can't.
Okay, Dean, now we're going to play a game that we play with all of our guests called Had It or Hit It. Oh my God. Welcome to Had It or Hit It. I would hit it. Had it. I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. Had it or hit it, FaceTime calls in public.
Oh, I've had it with that.
Had it. People that do that suck.
Oh, wait. Had it means that's bad, right?
Bad. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've had it with that.
Okay. Had it or hit it, autocorrect.
Oh, hit it. Oh, I love autocorrect. I can't spell at all. I love it.
Yeah, I can't spell either.
Okay. Had it or hit it, Charlie Kirk.
Oh, I've had it with Mr. Kirk. Big time.
Is it true that he refuses to debate you?
It is true.
Spill the tea.
He explicitly refuses to debate me. There's quite a story here.
Okay, spill it.
Okay. So, this is pretty hot. In fact, there's a lot about this that I haven't publicly spoken about, but I'll publicly speak about it now. Why not?
Oh, yay. Let's go. Breaking news.
So, before the election, I went on Jubilee, and there was specifically an episode where Charlie Kirk was surrounded by 20 liberals, including me, and we all sat down. I debated him. It was fun. I think I destroyed him. It was awesome. But anyways, after this episode, I was able to get a hold of the number of his manager. And after this Jubilee video aired, and everybody was like, dang, Dean Withers made a good point. I reached out to his manager and I was like, hey, I would love to have a follow-up debate and sit down with Charlie Kirk. Can we get this done? And he was like, well, let me ask Charlie. I'll get right back to you. He goes and he asks Charlie. Charlie's like, sure, I'll do another sit-down debate with Dean Withers. His manager, Ryan, sends me back a message saying that. And I'm like, okay, let's schedule it. When are we going to do this? And he's like, right after the election, we're going to do this. Okay. The election passes. I reach back out to his manager. When is this happening? Left me on red. Open the text, left it on red. Couple of months go by. I try again, same thing. Okay, then I drop it. But then I end up going down to Texas A&M when Charlie Kirk was down there doing his sit down, prove me wrong. And I'd go down there because I really want to talk to him.
Right.
So I get up to his booth. I'm the first in line. I think he said that, I cut in front of everybody. No, I was the first person there. I was like 3 hours early, right?
He's mad. He cut.
Yeah.
You cut her.
What a titty baby.
What a baby.
And then I bring the camera with me,
okay.
And I'm explicitly denied entry into the line to debate him. And he will say, his staffers will say, it's because Dean didn't go to the school. They were letting people in that didn't go to the school. People are coming on the mic explicitly saying that they didn't go to the school. Other influencers that were there with me that Charlie Kirk knew didn't go to the school got the chance to talk to him, but he didn't want to talk to me. That's fine. He ran from me. There was a clip of Trump supporters in the crowd actually asking him to debate me, and then him going, it's fine, whatever. He ran from me. Now, I ended up recording that. I posted it online, and it got 50 million views across my social media platforms.
God, I love you.
I love that.
Running. Yeah, Charlie Kirk running.
Charlie Kirk's a pussy. I love it.
And then, one last part of the story here. After I posted these clips on my social media, Charlie Kirk's manager then reached out to me and said, hey, Kirk would love to have you sit down as a guest on his podcast and have a debate with you. I even got a call from his executive producer saying, let's get this done. Let's select a date. Let's select a time. This is going to be awesome. And after that, I then sent out a tweet saying Charlie Kirk has agreed to a sit down. He stopped running. That was 4 months ago. I haven't heard a word or a peep from them since. I tried reaching back out. He just simply doesn't want to chat.
No, because he's scared because he's a dipshit and you're not, and he is a puss boy.
And here's the most important part about this, listener. So whether you're in, a Gen Z like Dean, or a millennial and you have, children that you're raising, or Gen Xers or whatever, we need to traffic all the kids and all of the youth that are interested in politics to Dean. The reason he doesn't want to sit down with you is he doesn't want to platform you, because you will start taking some of his support because you spit facts, you reasonably think, and you're not an asshole. And you can be an asshole for good, but Charlie Kirk is a prick for bad. Just for the sake of being a prick, just for the sake of being a grifter. And he knows that if he has you on and he platforms you, that you will start stealing some of his base voluntarily. They will voluntarily go to you. So we have to do, in this big tent that we're making, we have to drive all traffic to Dean Withers. I'm 100% in with you on this. We have to shame Charlie Kirk. Kylie, I need you to make this into a real what a pussy Charlie Kirk is.
But here's the
we
thing.
need to get it going on TikTok and all that stuff.
He'd be humiliated.
Well, yes, but of course he would be humiliated.
He knows it.
But he also knows a lot of those college students that watch him would kind of be like,
Yeah, you might. I mean, we need a debate between Charlie Kirk and Dean Withers.
Charlie Kirk, why are you being a pissy? Why won't you debate Dean
Charlie
Withers?
Kirk, what's the matter? He's like half your age, dude.
Charlie Kirk, why are you such a titty baby?
Cry, cry, cry.
Oh, and then South Park really gave it to him, which was fantastic. But okay, let me just ask you. We're going long, but I think our listeners are really going to love you if you have time. Let me just ask you this.
Go ahead.
Does he realize when he made the T-shirt that said Master Debater, does he realize that he's owning himself for that? Or is he trying to go, look, I'm leaning into it? I mean, he got completely annihilated by South Park.
He made a shirt that said that? I didn't even know that. You're being dude. Oh my
No,
God.
Kylie, put it up on the screen.
God.
Charlie Kirk made Kylie will find it. He's selling merch that says Master Debater.
Right.
Oh, jeez. Well, I think he's really trying to lean into it and hopes that he
There
won't.
it is.
Look at that. Yeah. Okay. Master debater. He's really trying to lean into it in hopes that, people will be like, we'll look at him and, they'll see this guy that's like, hey, I don't mind getting made fun of on South Park. I'm cool. I'm with it. Yippee. But like in all reality, I don't know. It's clear to me that he's trying too hard. That South Park episode was fucking hilarious. They did a wonderful job. And he's just really trying to lean into it so then he doesn't look butthurt. And of course, he had to throw the grift in as the sprinkles on top. I'm sure that T-shirt cost $45.
Yeah. I think he's scared of being platformed next to you because he knows a lot of women that he's trying to, something in them is like, wait a minute, an MRS degree, hold up a second, and what he's trying to present to the public could be easily disputed as evil and shameless and grifting bullshit by you in record time. I mean, he would invite you on for an hour. You would mop the floor with him in 45 seconds. He's that big of a dumbass dipshit. And I know it's not right to make fun of people's appearances, but the gums and the smile, it's just too much.
Here's what happened. I didn't ever notice that before. Jennifer points it out to me. Now I can't see anything else. I'm just like, oh my gosh, he looks like a cartoon character when he smiles.
If I could give my take on him real quick, I think that Charlie Kirk isn't a dumbass. I think he's more insidious than a dumbass.
You're right.
I think that he is incredibly intelligent and he knows exactly what he's doing. To deny that he's been able to build a very strong, well-founded, and powerful machine on the right to pull the support of the youth would be denying reality. That's a fact. But in a sense, I feel like this is more insidious because Charlie Kirk, he will never go against MAGA. He will never go against Trump. And if you ask me, I feel like that's the reason why he won't debate me is because he knows that in some ways He's just flat out wrong. And it would maybe take 30 seconds for me to detail this, but he will continue to hold to it and believe it anyways, because he's a shill for Trump. And whatever he says, Charlie Kirk does. I have never seen Charlie Kirk go against the status quo of the right. And in the minute ways that he has separated, it's usually in a way that is even further to the right. Not further to the left. He's just a grifter for whatever Trump wants him to say or do, and that's just more insidious than being a dumbass in my mind.
You know what? I completely agree with you. He isn't a dumbass. It is very insidious, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And we would be remiss if we didn't point out that he was the big promoter of release the files, release the files. One could even say he was the alpha of releasing the files. But like any faux alpha would do, when Trump called him and said, hey, quit talking about this, he immediately said, like, immediately right now, do you want me to post? Go live? Okay, I will. And he immediately followed in line with it. And so I would think for these people that go that hard in the paint for Trump, they have to limit their exposure, like you said, because he has no conviction. So he can only speak to the cult, and he can only speak to people who want to confirm their own bias. And having you on there, even people that are listening to Charlie Kirk for the purposes of confirmation bias, this isn't even really deep, nuanced thinking to say, so all it took was for Trump to call you and now you don't care about something, and you could, do the math on how many minutes he talked about it and how many posts he did about it. It's a very simple takedown. But oh my gosh, Dean Withers, I love having you on. I see why my son is a huge fan of yours. I want you to take over the youth airwaves from the Charlie Kirks of the world. We're big fans of yours, and I can't thank you enough for coming on, because now my son will listen to my podcast.
He'll think you're cool.
Well, it was a pleasure to sit down with you both. I really enjoyed the last 50 minutes or so, and I appreciate the invite. And it was fun to get to chat. It was fun to get to chat.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Dean. Bye-bye.
Of course. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Don't you think his parents are really proud?
Okay, 100%.
Like, how smart is he?
100%. But being that they're conservative, I wonder if there's a torture there. But no, you'd have to be super proud if you're his parents. And I'm just going to, I know this is going to shock people. At 20, I was not that together. Not even a little bit.
I wasn't either. I wasn't even close to being that pulled together.
No. He is just, he's 5 stars. He's getting 5 stars from me.
I love the tea, the Charlie Kirk tea.
It surprises me 0 that Charlie Kirk is a pussy.
But I agree with Dean that Charlie Kirk, it's insidious. That Charlie Kirk, we see it dipshit, but he's being a dipshit intentionally. He's intentionally dipshitting himself for the grift.
Right. Well, and here's the deal too. And correct me if I'm wrong. I might have my MAGA influencers confused. He wasn't religious until he realized the Christian right was going for MAGA, and now he's religious.
Yeah, I think that I believe that that's true, that he was trying, initially in his first foray into politics, he was like, he saw that the trends against religion, and he was kind of like, yeah, we don't need to be so Jesus-y, and I'm all for separation of church and state. But then he realized, like everybody realizes, like MAGA, like Donald Trump realized, like Vladimir Putin has realized, like Benjamin Netanyahu has realized, the easiest people to manipulate are the brainwashed Christians. Those are the easiest ones to get the money from. That's why that's why these mega churches, these pastors are so wealthy, because the congregation is the easiest to manipulate, the easiest among us. There's no critical thinking. They just accept everything at face value.
And cognitive dissonance is a way of life, for sure.
All right, listen up. We went long today because Dean was cool, and I honestly didn't realize we went long because it was such a good conversation. Please buy our book, Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. The link is below in the show notes. Pumps tell them.
We will see you next Tuesday and Thursday.
I'll tell you what I've had it with. Let's hear it. I've had it with that. Listen up, patriots, gaytriots, and natriots. We have a new podcast that has dropped. It's called iHip News. It's Monday through Friday, every day, 15 to 20-minute hot takes on the political landscape of the United States of America, always served with a side of petty grievances.
We are on all the available platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever you get your podcasts, and YouTube.
Please go Rate, subscribe, and review so that we will chart upwards with America's greatest legal mind. Pumps, what does an eagle say?
Caw-caw.
A little bit more enthusiasm.
Caw-caw.
That's it. That's
Caw-caw.
That's the patriotism that this country needs right there.